Welcome to the Uncommonality Podcast. I'm Keon, here with my co-host Sal, to bring you into a community of extraordinary entrepreneurs and innovators. We dive deep into the journeys that have defined them, from hard-earned insights to the hurdles that make each success story real. Today, we're thrilled to introduce Kokayi Cobb, CEO and CTO of Consuelo. Co blends visionary leadership and technical expertise to solve a critical issue in online shopping: accuracy. Consuelo creates innovative tools like virtual try-ons and precise fittings, improving customer experiences while helping businesses increase conversions and reduce returns. Co's journey, shaped by a competitive upbringing and an unrelenting drive, has led him to redefine the online shopping landscape. As Consuelo nears product market fit, their game-changing solutions are already making waves in the industry. Listen, share, and we're happy to have you be a part of the journey. Thanks. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 7 of the Uncommonality Podcast. I'm your co-host here, Keon Alberto, with my co-host, Sal Perez, the wonderful, amazing, and beautiful. Today, we have Co with us, Co Cobb, and he is the founder of Consuelo, which is actually a very impressive and innovative, up-and-coming fashion space.
Fashion tech, finding the blending fashion technology and what we can do, because there definitely is a future there.
I can't even necessarily describe it because it's that innovative.
Yeah, exactly.
Included with AI and things like that. So welcome, Co. We've actually been very, very excited and have been anticipating this one.
Me as well.
Just because for you, I know we've talked about some people that are like bigger than life, unreachable, et cetera, and they tend to have certain types of paths.
Yep.
You have that very similar path, man, and you are just down to earth. You're reachable. You're like, we can talk to you. You're here, like
very open. I wouldn't say the bigger than life path, but I mean, I do have an interesting story that I love to share, and I definitely think it can provide value to other people who are looking to get into the entrepreneurial, founding, or really just doing something big that is a little bit scary, because I have a lot of experience with that. So I'm excited to talk about it. Building, yes, a builder. For sure.
Yeah. So welcome, man. Why don't we just kind of dive into it like we always do? Would love to hear about you a little bit and your journey to kind of get to where you were today. We always love to build rapport with the community. That way they know, who they're listening to and, what advice they should be pulling from those types of things. And you definitely have a lot. So listeners, listen up to this one for sure. We'll kind of just hand you the mic and let you get after it.
Yeah, cool. So originally I was from Los Angeles. I moved to Asheville when I was about 11 or 12. I spent my high school, middle school time in Asheville, and then I moved to Charlotte, where we have met. And there was a few things that happened when COVID hit. I was in Charlotte in college. I lost my job. I lost my housing, all of this. So I couldn't work, and I couldn't live here in Charlotte. So I had to move back home. I stopped going to school at the time, which was a scary jump, but I always knew, even when I was at UNC Charlotte, that I wanted to do something bigger. And what I was doing there, I was studying business, but I felt like just starting a business would be the best way to study it. And obviously I did learn things there, but starting it, there's no better experience than real experience. So I went back during COVID, and I told myself, actually, this is funny. Before I left Charlotte, I was driving back home, and the last thing I looked at my house at the time was like, if I don't come back here a changed man, then I just wasted whatever. I thought at the month it would have been 6 months, turned out to be 3 years. But I told myself, if I'm not a changed man in the next 6 months, then I just completely wasted my time. And I didn't waste my time. So
setting intention with yourself.
I definitely was intentional, and that's actually something that starting in 2025, I've been trying to more intentional about communication, friendships, but yes, intentionality was definitely a big thing at the time. So I moved back home to Asheville in 2020, and I wanted to start a business. I was like, all right, I know what I want to do with my life, and I'm going to do it. And I wanted to start a payment system business where pretty much you can get paid instantly. So this is before like the earnings and like the Klarnas and all of that. And so it was a good idea. I just didn't know how to code. So the biggest problem was I got to the idea phase. I got a co-founder. So it wasn't like there was people that got behind it. But then we both got to the point where we needed to build the tech. And we were looking and searching, and all of these developers were charging us like $15,000, $20,000. And that was for the first version. So with this version, it was like you would pay them $15,000, and then they'd give you the first product. And as a developer now, little teaser there, I became a developer. But as a developer now, I know that that's the first version. Like I'm changing this every single day.
Yeah.
So it's like you're gonna send me this once, and then every time I want to change it, I have to pay you more. And for me, that's every day. Because so let me go back a little bit. We took this or we saw this. We're like, we're not paying people. We're
Yeah.
like, we can't do that for the first version. And we either did or we took a step back, and it's either we don't start this business or one of us has to learn how to code. And I was always a little bit tech savvy. Like I've always liked tech, but I didn't know how to code. And I was like, this would be cool. This would be in line with the being a changed man in the time when I come back to Charlotte, because that was always my plan to move back to Charlotte. And I did it. I learned to code. It took a lot longer than I expected. I was like, oh, I'll go learn in 1 month and we'll come start this business. That didn't happen, but I did learn the skill of coding. And this was in 2021. So we are here 4 years later.
Yeah.
And I'm starting a new business, which I think is a lot better. It's a fashion tech business where users can try on clothes online as well as get the sizes. And I think that's a big piece because it's inclusive in terms of sizing. There's the big problem in the fashion industry right now is the fashion is not inclusive. Like they'll have small, medium, large.
Yep.
So what if I'm extra small? What if I'm extra, extra small? What if I'm an extra large or an extra, extra large or like whatever? What if I have a different type of body than the industry standard? What do you do for those people? They just kind of don't shop online. So I think they have the in-person experience of going to try it on in the actual dressing room and the fitting room. And our goal at Consuelo is to make that the same thing with online shopping. So it's one smooth transition, and you would know exactly how it fits before you bought it. And I think that would have a lot of value in the space.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So I want to take a step back and dive into your first idea. I wanted to make a payment processing app or a payment processing company.
Mhm.
How did you dive into that? Right? Because I guess when I look back, because we've had a few conversations, and you're a hell of an entrepreneur and you are a powerhouse by definition.
Thank
right?
you.
You can
I
tell you're just a
appreciate that.
force of nature.
Thank you.
And I think that story really backs that. Right? You said a lot of people when COVID hit, they could have sat back and be like, man, this stinks, like this or whatever. You took it as an opportunity. You're like, I'm going to come back and I'm going to come back a completely different person, a completely better man.
Yeah.
And you did with, for lack of a better term, vengeance.
Yeah.
So how did you know in that first iteration of like, hey, I want to do this payment thing, but I can't code, so on and so forth? How did that inspire you to teach it upon yourself, right? Because you obviously had that cost of $15,000 out the pocket. That's a lot for anyone.
Yeah.
Right. So talk
us
through your thought process with like the pivots of the business idea, but you did know you wanted to do business.
Yeah, because you could have given up.
Yeah, you could have stopped and be like, man, this sucks.
This sucks. Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely plenty of times where I was like, this sucks and I want to give up. So it's not like those doubtful thoughts weren't there. I'm not going to act like they weren't there. They're every day to this day. But I think you just learn how to deal with those thoughts. And specifically with this business, I really wanted to. So I think this one initially started with I wanted to start something. I think I was 23 at the time, 22 maybe. So pretty young, but like old enough to start doing and building in this world and providing value to people. And the job that I had when I was in Charlotte, they got paid every day. And then I went back to Asheville and had, after a few months, after we could finally go back to work, I got a job that wasn't paying every day. And I was like, I don't like that. I was like, I don't like the difference in my mentality, because when you get paid every day, it's a different day-to-day mentality, the way you spend your money, than when you get paid every 2 weeks. So when I was getting paid every day, it was very easy to just like, all right, I'm going to put 40% of this away every single time I get paid. With the 2 week payment, you can still do that, and I still do that. It's just a little bit harder because you have to plan like, all right, with this, I have to pay these bills, I have to pay these bills, and then, well, it depends on how you go about it, but you have there's a hierarchy of importance when you get paid daily versus 2 weeks. And I personally like the daily one. Like that was one where I liked the aspect and the way that I thought about it. And I'm like, I'm sure other people would as well. And I was like, all right, let's create a system to where people who are getting paid every 2 weeks can get paid every day.
That's interesting. Okay.
And this was very new at the time. And so this is a financial service idea, and we had a lot of regulation on
Yeah.
top of that too. So
For sure.
we actually applied for a program called the Sandbox. And a sandbox is like a financial environment where pretty much new businesses can come and they'll drop the regulations. But you have to do it within the program. And this one was in the state of Arizona. So we would have had to move to Arizona, but I don't think we would have had to. Our businesses would have had to been based in Arizona. And we were going to do that. Like we applied to it, we got in. We got in, but we just didn't. We weren't there. We didn't know. I wasn't a good enough coder. The other guy wasn't a good enough. Just I don't think he was good enough involved at the time. He was not what I needed him to be. If I was going to be the head developer, I needed him to be the head CEO. And I definitely think that experience shaped my current one because now I'm the CTO, Chief Technical Officer, and the CEO. So I'm running both sides, which is definitely comes with its own challenges, but I also think it comes with its own benefits. Where when we want to move, I'm like, all right, we're going this way, and we're both in line. The technology side and the business side are all going in the same direction because I'm making that direction. And I think that's one thing that I really like about what I'm doing right now. And I think we'll see more founders doing that exact thing with the rise of AI. Because honestly, the rise of AI, you can have a co-founder without having a real person if you're a programmer. In this sense, you don't need a full person, and they might not be as good as a programmer as me, but they'll write all the code that I don't want.
Sure.
So where it's
Yeah.
like if there's like a lot of little code that like you're not gonna do the complicated stuff because like you still need a human brain for that. But if there's something that would take me 30 minutes, which isn't that long, but like because it's very easy, that's not very long. I could tell the chat GPT to do it in 10 seconds, and then I'll just read it and make sure that it did it right. So when I'm looking at it, it's like, all right, you messed that up, go fix it. And then they go fix it.
And it learns every time to get smarter each time.
They're getting there.
Yeah.
It's like they're getting there. But I think I like Claude. Have you ever heard of Claude?
Mm-mm.
It's an AI. It's just like ChatGPT. But they have a way to where you can upload instructions, upload knowledge for the AI. So where it does learn every
Oh.
time. So this one, it would learn. You can tell it here's how you want to respond. So I'm sure you guys all know prompts.
Mhm.
If you don't know prompts, look up ChatGPT prompts. That'll help you doing XYZ. Huge. But it's Claude will have it to where you can automatically upload those prompts or instructions. And then every time you type to this project, it will automatically have that knowledge base. So let's say I'm a podcaster because we're in a podcast. You can upload files, straight text files from your favorite podcaster, and like, hey, I want you to copy this style. I want you to, whenever you're helping me, like, create ideas. Like, here's the ideas and the knowledge base to build your answers off of. And ChatGPT can do that. So I don't use ChatGPT. I like Claude a little bit more, but it's a little less known thing. So maybe that'll be a cool thing. Check out Claude as well.
There's some things I want to extrapolate in that. One, I think, which your mindset and thought process on
Yeah.
everything is crazy because
Yeah.
I didn't even pick up on that. It's the fact that if you're a developer today, I think that can be a little motivational for a lot of people. If you're a developer today, you can have a co-founder without having a co-founder in the sense of having that assister.
Oh, yeah. I
And
mean, the
like,
bar for learning how to program. So if you've ever thought about programming, the bar for learning how to program is the lowest that has ever been in 2025 because ChatGPT, Claude, Minstrel, Meta, all of these different models, they will teach you and they will walk with you step by step. And these are not even the ones that you can plug into your computer because there's ones when you'd have to have a little bit better of a computer. But if you have a decent computer, you can have this AI run locally on your computer.
What?
So you don't have to go to chatgpt.com or any of that. You can have it automatically run on your computer. And whenever you need help with coding, you can be like, hey, why isn't this working? It'll just do it straight on your computer.
That is crazy.
Yes, that one. There's one that's coming out right now that's specifically for coding called Devin. And I saw a video recently actually that Devin was under a little bit of fire because they weren't doing what they said they were supposed to do. But that's a new update. That's a January thing, so we'll see. It's a, it's just come just now, like figuring that.
I actually I'm really enjoying this so far. Actually, just off the start, coming off hot. Yeah, it seems like in other words, if you want to go do something, just go do it and just go find the resources to do it.
Absolutely. And actually, I want to say something about that. So one thing is I feel like that just do it. It's easy to say, and I think it's harder when you're doing it. But one thing I'll say is when you're starting, it's not the same. It's not this like when you're starting, it's literally just taking that first step. It's not about running. It's about just crawling, walking. So right now I work, we're not going to put up a number. I work a lot, right? And if you would have told me 2 years ago that I would have worked this amount, I would have actually slapped you in the face because I'm like, you are ridiculous. And there's no way that where I am at 25 years old can work that much. And I would have believed myself. But now I started one day. So I used to work another job where I had to work an extra like 10 hours, like 50-hour weeks during that job. And I was like, oh, wait, maybe I can do this. I will say I went back to working 40 after that job. But now it started, as I'm starting this business, I started off to ramp it up to where I did 50 hours and then 60. And then some weeks I'll do 70. And it's not, and like, I'll still want to have fun on the weekend. You know, like I still want to go hang out with my friends and like do podcasts on my days off and do these things because I'm like, I'm not as tired as you would think.
Yeah.
It's like obviously if you just do it once, then yeah, you're gonna be really tired because you're not used to that. But it's like building muscles in the gym.
Yeah.
You don't just start off lifting the heaviest weights. You start off slow. You lift what you can. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, you can lift a little bit more. And then after 6 months, you're like, wait, I look kind of good right now. You know, it's like, and then at that point, you enjoy it. So you enjoy going to the gym. And then you want to spend the hour in the gym a day because you see the results and you see how it's benefiting your life. And that's where I'm at now.
I love that. And I think like, I know you have a point, but I want to toss this in real quick is from an entrepreneurial foundership business owner standpoint, I used to be in the same boat, right? I started my career in corporate. I then moved over to be a partner at another firm out of Indianapolis. And then I pivoted and started up my own shop with Totem Wealth Management. And I tell people all the time, they're like, yeah, but don't you work so many long hours? Like you do, but you build up to that, right? Like when you're really working long hours, it's because you have the demand for it, which is a great problem to have.
Great problem.
That's a great problem to have.
I would love that.
Because if you're not working that many hours, chances are it's because the demand isn't there quite yet.
Yep.
And I'll say, I would 10 times out of 10 work 80 hours a week for myself than work 40 or 50 hours for someone else or a big conglomerate or a big corporation. I will die by that statement. And honestly, we have been putting in some pretty long hours in recently. So, I mean, we're practicing what we preach.
Last night, dude.
Yeah, last time we were up till like a while editing videos and things like that. But
it's worth it though. That's the
100% worth it.
When you're building something for yourself, you see the actual results. Like if I put in this 50, 60, 70-hour week, it's going to have direct results because in the next week, you're going to be like, man, I'm so happy I did that for myself because this week is either easier or you're in a better position in your business, a better position in your life. There's so many reasons. And if you're doing that for a job, it's very easy to not see those results.
Yeah.
And that's another big reason why I got into the entrepreneurial space is because when I was working that job that I was doing 50 hours a week, I was doing that for someone else. I was helping them open their stores and I was helping them go around the Southeast to open stores, which was cool. You know, it was like kind of entrepreneurial where I'd go in and start something new and then I would leave and then it would work. And I'm like, that's great. Why aren't I doing this for myself? Why can I build this and spend this amount of time working someone else's 50 hours, 60 hours a week where I could spend this exact same time building what I want to do, building and chasing my dreams. And that's where I started. That's like the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that everything in and of itself is progress, right? As long as you're doing something, you're progressing. Regression is still progress. It's just, okay, find an alternative solution, go a different direction, and find something else that you're going to go do. It's just about the act of doing it. And I love how we haven't really mentioned that it is hard to just go do it. We just say, just go do it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bringing in that perspective on it
to
kind of bring it more real. Like, yeah, it is hard. But as long as you put the perspective, I'm crawling. I have training wheels on the bike right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, training wheels on a bike's real easy.
Real easy. I was gonna say, yep. Crawling's not hard. You know, it's like you just gotta like not think about running because running is hard. But like you're not there yet though. You know, it's like just start crawling because that's easy. You can do that. You know, if I go ask you like, hey, can you go take 2 steps? You'd be like, yeah. Like, what are you talking about? You know, like obviously I can take 2 steps. Go take those 2 steps. And after you take those 2, you're kind of like, I kind of want to take a 3rd step. You take the 3rd and the 4th, and then all of a sudden you're running and you're like, this isn't that bad. I am doing what I wanted to do, what I've always wanted to do. I'm following my dreams, and it's not that bad.
No, yeah, it's all about getting to your levels of comfort, right? Like I know there's people that say be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's like hard nosed.
Yeah.
I'm more aligned with that type of thing, like be comfortable being uncomfortable, because I like to throw myself in the deep end and figure it out. But at the same time, along with the coin of what we're speaking, it's not necessarily an opposite. It's more of an alternative of like, be comfortable within those steps. So like, be on those training wheels long enough where you're comfortable and now you're confident to take the next step.
Yeah.
So it's building that confidence to get to the next point. So if it's like, all right, I want to start a business. What am I going to do? All right, let me start asking questions first and let me start doing some research. Do I have some knowledge on the topic of what I'm trying to go into? Well, now I'm a little more confident to talk about it and start thinking a little more outside the box of whatever the status quo is. Because when you're creating something, let's be honest, and especially you, it's something new. To be able to create something new, you have to be confident that it's not a terrible idea.
Or a little dumb.
Or delusional.
Yeah, or a little delusional. I was like, confident,
Which we talk about.
Which we talk about. And confident. You need a little bit of both because, and also listening to the market. I think that's the biggest thing is delusional and confident at first. But then after you get that first initial product, you have to listen to the market. So if the market says, hey, this sucks, you have to be okay with that.
Probably right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have to be okay with that and be like, all right, I might have spent time doing this, but the market doesn't want it. I'm not going to spend more time, or I'm going to make it better based on what they tell me.
The market always determines the product.
They always do.
Every single time.
And I think that's something that we have also gotten into the hang of as well, especially with this, because we're always talking to each other like, man, this podcast is sick, or this episode was sick, this little TikTok was sick. And we think about guests that we want to have on of like, oh, we would get a lot of value out of this, but it's also taking a step back, being like, what would our viewers also get value out of? So keeping that step back, what's the market wanting to watch? What type of people do they want to watch? What type of businesses do they want to learn about?
And one thing I think is really cool about this podcast, though, is that the market is like so big.
It is.
It's like founders, like everybody, like either you are a founder currently, so that's a great market, or you want to be a founder, and that's a great market, especially in 2025, where it's like everybody with AI. It's like people are realizing like, hey, like I don't necessarily need all the skills. I just need to be able to get there. You know, it's like if in our space, tech space, like I just need to be able to get to the MVP, the minimum viable product, where it's like you don't have to be able to build everything. You know, it's like start off by crawling, like just get to that first step. And then after that, if the market reacts to it positively, then but people will want to work with you.
Yeah.
So like now I'm talking to people about people want to intern with me, people from overseas who want to like, hey, like, can I come be a developer? And I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know. Like I didn't realize like the market actually likes this product. I'm like, this is so new to me. So it's a cool space to be in, but I think the bar is just becoming so low now that your product has to be good. You know, I think that's one thing that we're going to see in the next year, 2 years is I think the minimum viable product, the one we were just talking about, is going to be a little bit higher because it can be a little bit better. So if I can go, and let's say I'm programming, I can go and code an app for consumers. Let's just say that consumers in what used to take 6 months, but I can do it now in 1 month. What people are probably going to start doing is taking that extra 1 month. So it would take me 2 months, but I'm going to make it a lot better.
Yeah.
You know, so like it still won't take me 6 months. We're still getting it done faster. But in that 2 month period, it's going to be really good. But also, I can do that solo though. You know, the solopreneur is going to be, I think the rise is going to be electric.
And I think we're starting to see that more even lifetime, right? When we look at Nurses to Nannies, I know you had a co-founder, but right now, obviously, you're doing it on your own. I have my shop. I wouldn't necessarily call it like a startup, but I own my own practice. I own my own firm, and I'm going to build that out accordingly. And I have some other things in the pipeline that, you know, right now are just ideas, and we're planting the seeds appropriately. But one thing that I laugh when hearing you talk about AI is super unique because you've brought it up like maybe 3 or 4 different times just in the last 25 minutes we've been talking.
Yeah.
And I know some people have a negative connotation of, oh, AI is going to take over this, that, whatever, but you see it in such a positive light. And I was actually having this conversation with my dad because we were talking about products, right? And how he's like, back in my day, like people, when they built something, they built it to last. They built a quality product to last. Where in the past, I would say 2 decades more or less, we've seen more like
Homes.
Homes that like don't last the same way that they would when they were built back then, or even products, or even
Planes.
clothes, right?
Planes,
Things that don't last. How when you pay for something, you would think they should last longer, and they just don't. And I think going back to the whole concept of, or the whole principle of things move in cycles, right? Things move in cycles. We're coming back to that cycle of people are going to have to step up their games conceptually.
Yes.
And the real products and the real ideas are the ones that are going to survive because everyone can just do the baseline.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you differentiate that?
You have to be good.
You have to be good.
I
Or
agree.
better than good. You know?
Yeah, you have to be better than good. And I think that figuring out the fastest way to get there is what is going to be the next race. So let's say you and I have the same product because we both have the know-how to do it. The race is not going to be who can get there first. It's going to be who can serve the market, serve the customers the best ability, because then you're going to get everybody. It's going to one thing I love about tech is, and also maybe don't love, is that it's a winner take all game. So it's not like a podcast where I listen to multiple podcasts, but if we're talking about sizing tech, there's only one that's going to be on someone's website.
That's interesting.
So one thing that's cool about tech, and I love it because if you win big. You win really big. And that's where you get the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Googles of the world. And there's a lot of smaller ones you don't know, like SaaS companies. But it's a winner take all game. There's not much room for second place, which is good if you're a competitive person like myself, because you always want to win. But because I don't like second place, so I'm not okay with second place regardless. And in tech, there is no second place.
Yeah. I would offer, in addition to that, on top of the MVP, mine was an Excel sheet at first.
Yeah, and that's a great MVP.
Now it's
that is a
that.
great MVP.
And now it's
that
that.
is exactly what MVP is. If it did the job, then that's minimum viable product.
Yes.
It was minimal. It was also viable, but it was also a product. Then,
yes.
So that's it. That's
and
exactly
I think that there's 2 MVPs in business, right? Your minimum viable product and then your most valuable player.
Yes.
And they go hand in hand, completely in tandem. One is not more important than the other. They are just as important as the other, right?
Yep.
Because the MVP might be that product, the value, the service, whatever it is that you're physically providing to the consumer. Yes, it has to work properly. Yes, it has to be convenient, and it has to be easy to use. Sure. The other half of that is the actual MVP, which is you, which is me, which is him, right? Do people want to work with us? Do people want to believe in what it is that we're doing? Do they want to support us? Are we good people? Like the biggest part is human connection and being able to build out that connection of, all right, do I understand what you want? Do you know where I'm coming from? Do you align with my values and morals? And that's just half the battle of, I'm going to pick you over this, because at the end of the day, there's definitely big differences between products. But if you're in a marketplace where there's not really a monopoly, a lot of products are here and there, like Target to Kohl's, things like that. Like there's not really much of a difference. It's more of like, okay, well, what do you align with more? That's going to be some personal, emotional stuff that, I don't know, it's intrinsic.
We'll say Target has better clothes than Kohl's. I will say there's a little difference. We like Target's fashion. Target has great fashion.
Target has higher.
I was like, there's a little difference.
Target has higher ceilings, and Target has more lights. It's brighter inside.
Maybe that's it. Maybe they have the lights. Maybe that's what gets me. And I think the clothes look.
It's the psychology.
It's the psychology. I'm like, I think the clothes look better there because of the lights.
Yeah. So there's stuff that's intrinsic on top of minimal viable product, MVP, most valuable player as well. And I think
agree.
that it's just hand in hand every single time.
Because people buy from you. Like I'm not listening for, or like you're not listening to a podcast for, like you might have a specific thing you're looking for, but like you stay on a podcast because you're like, wait, I like those founders there. I like the host. I like the person they had on the show. Like, and that's the MVP, most valuable player. That's not the minimum viable, because you can't produce a podcast with the minimum. I mean, you can produce a podcast with the minimum viable, but you want the MVPs though. Like when it's
Sure.
game day, you want your MVP on the field, you want them playing the game, and you want them doing the best that they can. So that is where we are now, where it's like we're all MVPs. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're all MVPs. I know you guys, and we've had conversations over the past couple weeks, and I know you guys are gonna make this work. I know you're gonna make it like go to the moon because that's just the type of people that you are, and that's what you need out of your MVP. Because I would buy anything from you guys, no matter what it is, because I know you and I know you guys are MVPs, and that's what it comes down to.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
of course.
appreciate that tons. Yeah, that ties so good with what we were just talking about with Juan. Like Juan Garzon, he is the executive director of Innovate Charlotte here.
We need to get you connected.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
would be a
I'd
great
love to.
connection for you.
Love to.
He has this thing called a pitch breakfast. Sorry, he has this thing called a pitch breakfast as well, where you can even go pitch to investors, and they won't necessarily invest in you, but they'll give you feedback
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
well
which is
to help you pitch better.
And it's
probably
great
more
reps.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great
it's
Probably
reps.
more important.
But as you were
And-
saying, sorry.
No, so one of the things we talk about, and his whole thing is the product is like 30 or 25% of it. The person, the MVP, is the other 75.
Yep.
And one of the things that stuck out to me from his episode that he said, there are people in your life that you meet, and you said to yourself, they're gonna be something. I don't know what, I don't know to what extent,
Yep.
and it may not necessarily be with this business that they're doing right now, but they're gonna learn something from this, and it might be the next thing, or it might be 2 iterations down the road. But they have like this it factor. And I think, kind of going back to what you said, how it all ties in closely with the three of us, like that's a very intrinsic thing that we've seen thematically pop up in other episodes as well. So I wanted to call that out.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what it is, but it's the it factor. That's exactly, you hit that nail in the coffin there.
I think the it factor just comes from alignment. I would say alignment with oneself, alignment with one's life, alignment with one's goals and trajectory of where they want to go, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, you said it already. You understood what it was you wanted to do, what you liked, what you didn't. Well, I'm not going to go work all these hours for somebody. I'm going to go work it for myself. Why? Because it makes me feel better. I feel more accomplished. Every single time that I'm spending these hours, like, we just finished a day yesterday where we went me personally, I flew in at 12:30 the night before. We did a 9 a.m. to 12:30 next morning. And, like, at the end of that night, I feel so much more accomplished, and I even feel amazing. I'm
That's what I'm
tired,
saying.
but I feel amazing.
You feel
Where if I
great.
went to work at a 9 to 5 and just went home afterwards, I'm going to come home and be a little miserable. I'm not going to lie.
A lot miserable there. So it's not worth putting your mental health in that, especially because if you're the type of person to where it does affect your mental health, then it wouldn't affect that. Because like if I was the type of person to where it didn't matter to me that I'm going to work this job, then yeah, that's fine. But like when I was going to work this job, it would eat away with me.
Yeah.
Like I physically could not. Like I would go home and I'll be honest, I would cry some nights
Yeah,
because
it
it was
chips
like
at your soul.
it does.
Like,
It chips at your soul.
I
That's
do too,
exactly
yeah.
where it's like I'm going home, 25-year-old man crying because I'm not reaching my dreams or not even pursuing them. That was the biggest problem where it was like,
Yes.
it's not, you don't have to be at your dreams, but I'm like, I at least want to be pursuing them. I at least want to be on the right path to where I could see I'll be getting there someday. You know, it's like, I may not be everywhere I want to be right now, but I'm getting there and I'm on the right track, but we're getting to the places that I've always wanted.
Speaking of dreams, I had this thought. I don't know if it was a couple years ago or a couple months ago. I don't really know. Speaking of dreams, I was self-reflecting a little bit, kind of when I was crying too, just going, what am I doing? Like, this sucks. And, you know, at the time, I actually had a partner I was happy with. Like, we were settled. Like, it was good. Like, a part of my life was good, but this was actually, like, just destroying me. Like, no matter how good everything else was, this was terrible.
Yeah.
And I started to understand because I was like, well, what's different between me now and me when I was playing soccer? Like, what's really the difference?
Yeah.
And when I was able to come to that conclusion, I was able to leave my job and start doing what I was doing. And the answer is dreamers are the people who are going to make a difference. But to be a dreamer, you have to hold on to your childhood 12-year-old self.
Yeah.
And so what you need to do whenever you're feeling in doubt of that dream and you're working towards it, and because some days you don't see the result and we're like, what the hell are we doing? Look in the mirror and just look at your 12-year-old self and be like, would you be proud of me today? And I know that me in that corporate setting, I would have looked at myself and been like, what happened to you?
Yep.
Yep.
And me today would be like, I didn't think this would happen, but I'm not mad about
Yeah,
this.
I'm happy with it.
I'm okay with this. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you're still, because a 12-year-old you doesn't have the exact plan. They just know you want to do something. You want to do something big that's bigger than where you are at the time.
Yeah.
So I agree with that 100%.
They have, the 12-year-old you has the ambition to dream as big as you want it to be. And you decide if that dream goes to die. And it's on the same side of the coin of positive self-talk, manifestation, and all those kinds of things. If you keep that dream alive and you keep pushing, eventually you're going to strike that gold, whether it's 50 years, whether it's 20 years, whether it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody, but you'll
I
get
have a
there.
big thing about that actually is that the biggest thing is that you just don't quit.
Mhm.
You know, it's like at some point, and that's why I think a lot of businesses, I'm sure we all have heard the stat that 90% of businesses fail after 1 year.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to believe in that 90% of businesses quit after 1 year.
Yes.
I don't think that it's failed.
Yes.
It's 90% of businesses quit after 1 year because it's gotten hard. Like I have like other things in my life that I need to do, which are all valid reasons.
Of course.
But if you care enough, you wouldn't quit because you would figure out some way to make it work. And I definitely think I'm blessed in my life right now to where I'm in this like time in my life where I'm 27. I don't have kids, which I definitely agree that is something that but also I put that as a importance in my life because I knew I wanted to start a business.
Yeah.
So that is one thing where if you are young, you are 25, 23, 24, 25, and you want to start a business, when you're doing it, this is going to be the most important thing in your life. So if you have prior obligations, I like to say you have one thing. So if you have kids, that's your one thing. You have family, that's your one thing. You can't go to the gym because you have your one thing. You can go to the gym, but you won't be able to successfully put your full amount of time into your business.
That's a great take. And I think also kudos to you for acknowledging like I'm in a position where I'm good to do and take the risks appropriately.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And a lot of people, just to self-acknowledge here, like some people aren't. And
No,
that's a
for
reality.
sure.
And
that's
life
why
handles people different circumstances,
Mhm.
And that's
So I love that you called that out. One thing that I think another message in there is we are a summation of our choices, right? So I think of my family specifically, right? Because my mom's getting to the age where she's like, "Where's my grandkids? Where's this? Where's all this in the store?" And I'm not saying it's not doable.
I was like, hey, trust me, same.
I
I'm
still
not
got a
saying
couple of years.
I'm not saying it's not
man.
doable, but I am making the deliberate choice to say, hey, I'm going to put that on hold because I have dreams I want to accomplish first. And I want to set my family up in the way that I can, even though they're not born, even though they're just a figment of my imagination right now, so that I know their life will be better on the back end.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, when, they're pointing fingers at others like, oh, well, he doesn't have this, or he doesn't have that, or he didn't do this. He has the time to do that. Well, there's sacrifices, right? I'm sacrificing the fact that I could have that right now, but I'm deliberately putting that on the back burner so I can pursue these other things. Because at the end of the day, you are, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, a summation of your choices. All these little choices you make, they add up to each other.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
I would say it's the difference between satisfaction and results.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going into this and the preparation, the mindfulness to have the preparation, right? It's like, okay, I'm at a place right now where I want to develop this so I can have this in the future. Okay. So if I were to bring this stuff in the future to me now, I would be satisfied. But am I going to get the end term result that I want? Probably not, because I didn't do the part first. So I need to be mindful of, what do I want the result to be? Well, I'll be more satisfied with that than just taking the short-term satisfaction that I'm rocking with right now.
You hit a big thing just now. The short-term pain, honestly. Short-term, like, giving up the things that you would like. Because obviously I would love to have, like, a family, wife, kids right now. But I think I can provide for them better if I suck it up right now, do this. And it's not forever. I think that's one thing that you'll see a lot of content. Like, they'll try to be like, this is going to be the hardest thing in the world. And, like, it will be hard. But, like, it'll be hard for 5 years. It'll be hard for even 10 years, long time. But 10 years, I'd be 37. And obviously I'd have done things before then. But, like, you're still young.
Yeah.
Like, if you're even 47, you're still young. Like, humans now live to what, like 80, 85, especially like in America. It's like, don't think that because something's going to take up 5 to 10 years of your life, if you want to found something that you can't A, live, because I still do live my life.
Yeah.
And B, that you'll be done forever afterwards. Like, my dad is, what is he, 55 right now. And he lives, like, he's probably living the best life he's ever lived right now. I'm like, so he's probably happier now at 55 than he would have been at 25.
That's a very Gary V mentality of you, right? So I love Gary V and his entrepreneurial mindset and everything. And a lot of times you'll hear him at these seminars, and people will come up to him and they might be like 55, 56, 57. They'll go up to him and be like, Gary, I'm thinking of starting up like a pizza shop. It's always been my passion. It's always been this. Or I've been thinking of starting up this. Is it too late, you think? And one of the things he'll say, no matter how old you are, he's like, brother, you're young.
Yeah.
He's like, you're
come
young.
on, man. It's like,
You said 65. Oh man, you still have another 3 decades. You're straight, man. Like,
I mean, my thing with that is, so let's say you're 40, right? So the average life is going to be 80. If you're 40, if you do it now, it might take you 10 years just for ease of numbers. And after that, you have 30 years to live your best life. But if you don't start at 40, you're going to live 40 years of regret rather than taking those 10 years and living the best 30 you could ever live.
I love that.
I would even offer maybe even a founder key.
Sure.
I would say just along with this founder key, presence and mindfulness helps with this. Okay. So if you're able to consistently be present in every single day, every single task, it's not easy to do, right? But if you're able to be present, I'm here doing this today. It's one thing, not a million things, not the whole project. It's one task. And I just keep going one task after another, after another, after another. You're building those muscle memories. You're staying busy. And then the next thing you know, it's 5 years later and you have something that's actually rolling.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And the presence is the most important part of that. It is what will keep you sane through the hard times.
Yes. And that's also how you remember that you're not trying to run. You're just trying to crawl.
Yeah.
So where are you right now? Where are you at right now? I think that's something that's big.
And
I love that.
The other side of that, building off of what you're telling, the viewers, a lot of people will pull themselves out of the race before the gun call, before the start, right? They focus kind of to your point. You say, take 2 steps. Yeah, but running's hard. Okay, I get running's hard. I didn't say run. I said take the first 2 steps.
But I don't have running shoes.
Yeah, but I don't have running shoes. Oh, that's fine. Well, you have 2 feet.
You got 2 feet. Yeah, it's like we'll get you some shoes on the way.
Exactly.
We'll get you some shoes
on the way. That's a great way.
You always will.
We'll walk to the store so you can run after you put the shoes on.
Exactly. And that's how it starts. Like that's exactly how it is, because there are the excuses of like, I don't know how to code. And it's like, all right, well, let's go learn the first steps of coding. And then
free boot camp or free code
YouTube. No, YouTube. Yeah, I was like, not even those are step 3. I'm like, YouTube is step 1, man. Just go type in how to code Python. And it's like, there's plenty of videos, but like step 1, you just watch some videos and like, you probably don't actually do coding. And then the next steps, you go, I'm like, all right, I want to download VS Code is what it's called. And then you go step by step following the videos and coding at the same time. So like, I'll watch the video, pause it real quick, go code what they said. And then it's like, all right, let me go restart the video, pause it. And it takes some time, but like, it's not hard. That's the other thing. It is not hard. So like, you're literally watching a video and like, there's a words right here. I'm just copying and pasting, or like just typing what's on the screen. I can do that. Anyone can do that. And then after a while, you start to see patterns and you're like, wait, I think I know what's going to happen next, because like in the last video, that's what happened next. And then I think in this video, this is what's going to happen next. And then that's what happened next. And you're like, oh, wait, I kind of know how to do this. And then after a while, you do that for a few months and then you just know how to code after. Like, I mean, it took me like a year to get out of, we call it tutorial hell, where you're just pretty much only can code but also, I mean, ChatGPT, this is pre-ChatGPT.
Sure.
So I'm sure ChatGPT, I probably would be out of tutorial hell in like 2 months, 3 months, you know, which is like huge. Like that is like very big. But it's after that, take that year. And here's the other thing too. It's a skill. So if we're talking specifically programming, you take 1 year to learn how to program. And even if you don't want to start your own business, you can go work at any tech company.
Great careers.
Great careers. Do it on the side, because tech companies don't ask for resumes. They just like say, hey, show me your GitHub, which is where pretty much all of your documentation of your code over whatever your programmer.
It's like a portfolio.
It's basically a portfolio of all of your code. And businesses don't ask. Like, so like when I'm hiring people, I don't care where they went to college. I just care about what you can do.
Yes.
It's like I care about if you're good and if you're not good, because you could have some Harvard computer science major who, if they haven't coded in 20 years, on their resume, it'd be like, oh, they went to Harvard for computer science, but he hasn't done anything in 20 years. he probably is not going to be like, he might be smart, but he might not be the best person to be the programmer.
Yeah.
Or you could have someone who just learned to code and she's only been doing it for a year.
No.
And with her GitHub, it's like, whoa, you know how to do this, you know how to do that. And I'm like, I want her to be my programmer, developer, CTO, whatever she's applying for, rather than that Harvard law guy, because she actually knows what she's talking about.
It's very interesting what you're saying. I have personal experience with it. So I run internship cohorts for my business where I'll take it. It's actually, okay, free plug. So we do internship cohorts for nurses to nannies, anything from digital marketing, which can be social media, to SEO. We do investor relations, and we also do sales, things like that. And I run these cohorts for 6 months. My best intern went to community college. And I had somebody that was going to a very, very top school. I had somebody who was going to a very, very top school. My best intern went to community college.
And
Had nothing to do with the education, had all to do with the application and desire to learn.
It's all about skill.
Yeah, and I talked to about this a lot with friends who own businesses, and we have this discussion a lot about recruiting talent to the firm, recruiting talent to their businesses. And I tell them, I went to college at Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina, played soccer there, the whole 9 yards. And when I think about my business now and the type of people I look to hire or want to hire, or the type of people I want to attract, I actually don't even think of people I went to school with. I think more of people I grew up with in Orlando, right? Some people that didn't even go to college, some people that I just know they can hustle, and I know they are hungry, because something that I think gets lost in the pursuit of a degree is all the degree really tells me is you can show up on time, and there's exceptions to this because there's a lot of smart people.
We'll take STEM out of this.
Yeah,
Outside of STEM.
We'll take STEM as a whole out of this, because engineers, unless you're a doctor, an engineer,
I'd say
lawyer.
doctor, but I'm like, engineers, I mean, what kind of computer engineer?
Maybe. Yeah. You're right, a computer scientist.
Yeah, I was like, computer science.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's STEM. But I mean, I definitely get what you're saying.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just being the devil's advocate.
Outside of STEM. We'll stay outside of STEM.
We'll stay outside of STEM.
We'll stay outside of STEM.
More of your business.
Sure.
Finance.
Sure. Right.
Marketing.
And once again, there's exceptions to this. I don't want to use a broad paintbrush to classify a whole type of people, but I would go back to where I grew up and hire some of my high school friends before hiring someone that I know has like an MBA or this or that and the sort, just because I know the type of work ethic I'm going to get out of them, and I know they are hungry for it, and I know they can just live through the grind.
But you also know they got your back.
And there's a certain trust aspect to that as well. Sure, I'll take that into account too. But on that vein, I want to dive into Consuelo a little bit.
Yeah.
Give us some background into exactly what Consuelo is, how you even came up with the idea, right? Because up until this point, Consuelo, for lack of a better term, is a fashion tech.
Yes.
And we've been talking a lot about tech, haven't been talking much about the fashion. So would you say you were intrigued by the fashion side of it first, and you're like, or the tech side?
So I think that's why I'm the perfect person for this, because I love fashion and tech.
Okay.
So initially, probably before I learned tech, I would have loved fashion. So like my first job was at Abercrombie and Fitch. First job was Hollister. Second job was Abercrombie and Fitch.
Upgrade.
Big upgrade. Yeah, I was not at Hollister second. No, Abercrombie and Fitch. Actually owned by the same company.
Yeah,
but still big upgrade though. Still big upgrade, but it's kind of, now I was 15, 16. So like, I've always loved fashion and clothing and doing all of that. And I've always dressed pretty well, not crazy. I'm black and black today, but very fashionable.
Yeah.
And
very,
the way
very
that
Rick Owens of you.
Very Rick Owens of me.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think the original way I found this idea was I was actually going to a trip to California, and I bought a shirt for the trip, because I was like, I'm excited going to California, going to LA, like it's gonna be really cool. And I get the shirt and it didn't fit. I was like, the heck? Like I loved, like, I didn't love the shirt yet, but I loved the picture I saw of the shirt, and I thought I was gonna love the shirt, and I get it and it didn't fit. So I'm upset, and I got over it, but I'm on the plane, right? And I'm like, I was pretty upset about the shirt not fitting. I'm sure other people would be equally upset, maybe more upset depending on the person, because it didn't fit and it didn't look how I thought it was going to. So like I had to leave it at home. And I was on the plane, I was like, I know how to program. Like I should just fix that problem. And I didn't obviously just go do it on the pro. Like, this isn't a movie, this isn't like I'm going to fix it right now. But I will say when I got back from my trip to California, I did start the project because I thought about it over the next week, and I was like, I definitely think this is something that I can do, and I'm interested in the fashion side, the tech side, and that's where I started at. And now we're to the place, different idea than where we started. So it started off as an app where you can try on the clothes, but it's more consumer focused. So I would try to get you guys to download the app, which is cool, but I don't think that's a good business. It's a cool app, but like in terms of like actual business, because it's like, all right, how are you going to get customers? So do you market it on TikTok? Do you market Instagram? How are you going to make money? That's the biggest thing. Like,
This is Uwe's
these
problem.
people are just trying on clothes on your website. Where do you make money at? So that was the first thing, and I was like, all right, well, I can make money if I have a marketplace for clothing brands to try on their clothes or to sell their clothes on here, and users can try it. So that was, I was like, all right, we're gonna do that because that's a good idea. I think someone's gonna do it. But it's kind of like Instagram shops, but still, Instagram shops is a great idea. And so I went out with that, started with that, and then after a while, I realized that clothing brands, which is the biggest, I need them for the marketplace. They don't want to sell on another platform. It's like they have TikTok, they have Instagram, they have Pinterest, they have their own website, they have Shopify, they have all these different platforms that they're selling on, and you're going to them and saying, hey, I don't have any users yet, like, because it's very new, but like, can you take all this time to upload your clothes to this website, and then maybe hopefully we'll get users. Most businesses they're not early adopters, so they may use it when it's popular. I'm sure they would use it when it's popular, but they wouldn't start it. So that's when I kind of had, over a month or two, the realization of maybe I should just work with the customer, like with the brands, like the businesses on their own.
B2B.
And B2B, exactly. So shifted from a B2C, business to customer, consumer, and then go more B2B, because realistically, they're the ones who need the tech, because the businesses and brands, I return that shirt from the planes, So like, they're the ones who have to deal with the returns, who have to deal, that's a cost, big cost, huge cost. Because let's say you can't resell it. Like, what if like I got a coffee stain on it, and you still have to be able to take the return, depending on the brand, but most brands would still take the return, but they can't resell that though. So that's a $40 shirt, and you have to take the return fee,
label, shipping
return
costs.
label. That's like $50 gone. So realistically, the ones who need the tag it's not me, because I'll just return it and I'll get my money back, and I'll just get, so I don't care about the problem enough, which also is why I went B2B, not B2C. It's because like I would love to have that, but I don't care enough, because if I get a bad product, I'll return it.
It's no skin off your back.
No skin off my back.
Time.
Yeah, just some time. And like, pissed that I couldn't wear my cool shirt in California.
Sure.
Which is like not a huge problem. It's not, I got my money back. But for the brands, they don't get that money back. They had to spend, they had to give them money back. They had to like take money from their bank account that they thought they already had, and then give it back to the customer. So, and then maybe spend more on the shipping labels and the returns and all of that. So just in terms of a problem solution standpoint, the B2B is a more viable business.
That is so good, because you said something in there. The customer does not care about the problem, right?
Yeah.
You said, oh, it's no skin off my back. I'm just going to return it. We send it back. It just takes a little bit of time. The business and the business owner cares about the problem. And that's something that in the Innovate Charlotte episode we talked about. Great entrepreneurs obsess over the problem, not the solution.
Yes.
Because the market will tell you whether they love the solution. And it can always change.
The solution has changed many times since I've started, but the problem has always stayed the same. Of returns, trying on clothes not fitting. Essentially, clothes not fitting when shopping online. And inaccuracies when it comes from there. So like, the solution has changed, and it might change again. I never
probably will.
It probably will. I absolutely will. And if it doesn't, then I might not be doing something right. I might have gotten too comfortable.
Sure.
But it's always going to change. And if you worry about the customer, they'll tell you what they want.
Yeah, they're not shy.
They're not shy, because if it's a real problem, they want it to be fixed.
Yeah.
So they will be willing to get on phone calls, willing to get on Zoom meetings, willing to like look at your demos, where it's like, hey, I've been working on this for a month. What do you think of it? And then they'll give you feedback. And then they'll say, hey, if you make this, then I would buy that, which is a whole lot better than just having an idea in your head, because you have someone with money saying, I would buy this if it did this. And you can get in trouble doing that because we're not like going to customize everything for everybody. But I mean, for your first few customers, absolutely.
Yeah.
Customize it to where you want them, they're your first customers, first, second, third customers. Like, you need them to buy it because no one else is, So it's not like, but when you're 10 customers down the line, then it's like, okay, custom products are taking away from you selling the product, you making it a little bit better. But I mean, at the end of the day, the customers, they're the ones who are going to buy it. So if you want something custom, we can do it. We can absolutely do it.
Yeah.
But it might just look a little different.
And so like the key to all of that is just being receptive, right? And you're saying that it's like, well, if I'm going to be receptive and confident, okay, you need to be receptive to be able to understand and take in what it is that people are giving back to you, but you have to be confident to be able to put something out there that you don't know what's going to happen.
Yes.
And you have to be confident enough to know this might not go right. People might judge me. People might be like, you're an idiot. But I need to do that to be able to be receptive and find that eventual solution.
Can I add to that?
Of course.
So I'm going to make a little sandwich. Confident, receptive, and then confident again. Because you have to be confident enough to just start it. Because like, that's scary. That is so scary. But then you have to like be smart enough to be receptive.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to receive back from the users. But then you have to be confident again because the cycle restarted. Like after you went and made the product that they told you to make, you're still shipping it again. And it's a new product the first time. Like it feels the same. You got to be confident even with your changes that you made from the market. So I'm like, I want to make a little sandwich: confident, receptive, but then confident again.
Yeah, that's a great one, actually.
Yeah, I like
that's
that
awesome.
a lot.
Yeah.
I think the other side of that too, because we're on the stem of receiving feedback. We talk a lot about being receptive to the market, right? And I think as all business owners, we have to be that yes or yes, right? Or otherwise, we're gonna die off pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yes or yes.
I think there's another vein of that, of be very selective when it comes to decisions with your business of who you take advice from as well. Right? Because we talk a lot about, be very receptive, listen to the feedback, so on and so forth, but not all feedback is necessarily in your best interest, right? May not be sincere, right? Might be out of spite, might be out of something. Take advice from people in positions that you would also want to be in yourself.
I agree. Because I think it's one thing with advice specifically is that it could be great advice.
Yeah.
It could be like, it could literally be the best advice you have ever heard, but it could be the exact opposite of what you need. So a great example is in my business right now, I'm doing early stage founder-led sales. So the advice...
Explain that.
So founder-led sales pretty much means that I'm not hiring a sales team. I'm personally reaching out to businesses, personally reaching out to potential clients and not hiring someone else.
Yep.
But the advice that you would tell a founder on founder-led sales is pretty much the exact opposite of what you would tell them when they get in later stage sales. Because it's like because at that point, the founder wouldn't be the selling. Yeah. So it's like advice to a salesperson is completely different from advice to a founder because people want to talk to founder. It's like people actually do want to like, hey, I made this product. Can you check it out? They're a little bit more receptive because they're like, wait, you made this? You're not just selling this to me. So like the advice is you say that. You absolutely say, hey, I made this product. Would you want to check it out? Rather than someone down later stage sales, they can't say that. They can't say, you honestly, if it's later stage sales, you probably don't want them to think that you didn't make the product. Sure. It's like you might not make the product, but your aspect is like you're the professional on it. So you want them to think you made the product. So it's like the advice that you would give to someone who wants to make the customer think they made the product is completely different than someone who actually made the product.
That's a good take.
I think that's good. I like good advice. So,
yeah, it's also different stages, right? Yep. Because it's like there's also I think in a lot of things there's an essence of show and facade that always matters. Okay, if you're thinking about a large scale corporation, if the founder at that point CEO is the person that's doing the selling, that doesn't even sound right.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't even exist. You're just kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Or there's something not going on right there, or this is fishy, or this is a scam, or something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you're in an early stage startup and you're building up your thing, the founder's the one that's supposed to be going out there door to door, even knocking on doorbells like, hey, I want to share this thing that I just did. I think there's value in this for you. And they're extrapolating way more value out of that. Where in the future, like you just said, it would just be like, wait, what?
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Something's
like,
not right here.
Yes. And kind of going back to what you said earlier is that if you are the MVP, they buy them from you.
Every time.
They'll buy your product.
They'll
invest in you though. You know, it's like, hey, this may not be the perfect product, but I believe this guy is going to fix the problem that I have. So I may have this problem that he's bringing up to me. So I may not be able to try and close online. And this may not be exactly what I wanted in terms of solution, but I believe that he'll figure it out. So that's where you're the MVP and you make that. That's also why if you're the founder, you are the MVP. You can't hire an MVP because there's a reason you started the company. So if you're not the MVP, no, figure it out.
And maybe diving back into Consuelo here with these last few minutes, what is next for Consuelo? I know you've had some iterations in January.
Yeah.
Talk us through what you've released, what you want to release, like what the next iterations are.
Yeah. So in January 2025, we released our virtual fitting room, and that's where you can upload a picture of yourself, let's say from Instagram, right? You have a really good picture. I look good in that. You can upload this picture from Instagram, and the AI will it'll just put the shirt on, or if you're a woman, you can put the dress on, the pants, to where if I'm wearing this black shirt and I wanted to try on your flannel, I would just upload the picture in this black shirt, and then it would put the flannel on me. Which is
of you in your own
2D on my picture, on my Instagram picture, on my whatever picture you want to upload. It's like it is.
Don't have to buy it. Don't have to go to the store.
No, don't have to buy it. Don't have to go to the store to see how it's gonna fit. You can just put it on, and right there you can be like, oh, I like this, or this color looks really good on me, or actually, this color does not look good on me. I'm not gonna buy that.
Don't have to return it.
Don't have to.
If you have it in your closet, don't even have to ruin your room.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like you can already see everything.
Crazy.
That's amazing.
Yep. And we also offer a fit calculator, so this one is just the visualization of the clothes, but then the fit calculator would be the actual sizing of it. And we're going to combine the two at some point down the line. But I mean, the customers we've had, they've either wanted the fit calculator or they've wanted the try on. So the market hasn't told us to combine the two, but I'm sure when the market does, we will do that. But the fit calculator is how you would actually size it. And that right now is coming from a scan. It's specifically for the heads. We're looking to go.
So the helmets.
Yeah, we're looking like, yep, we got the helmets out right now. We're looking for hopefully by July of 2025, we're looking to do the full body scan because that one's going to be cool. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, but there's a really big thing for me with body inclusivity because I think that's just where the problem has never been, no one has ever cared enough to fix that problem. Sure. And I definitely think that I'm in a cool space to where I can do that. And that's where you really solve that problem. Because if they're really long legs or something, or really long arms, or maybe they're bigger in one area, when you do the body scan, you can see for all that. So it's like, you can just tell, and it'll just automatically tell you, hey, based on what you've uploaded in the past, you will need a size medium or size small, or in this shirt, you need a size extra large or whatever, but that's where the scan comes in and it's based off of you. And that's really cool, I think. So
we do too.
Yeah.
We do too. What do you mean? Yeah. I think that's really cool. I think everybody thinks that's cool. I think everybody can find value in something like that, man.
So definitely.
When you look at, you took the original lens of going to customers. First, you said, market's not here for me. Mm-hmm. You then went to businesses, and you've kind of already self-identified, I am the founder, leader of the sales. Mm. What's your method for going about chasing business? How do you go about that?
So knowing businesses. Okay. So knowing, I have a background in fashion. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of businesses in my head that either I've shopped at before, or I've had people that I know that I've shopped there. And just because we're talking about customer acquisition, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I was specifically customer acquisition. Yes. So, LinkedIn has been decent. Forms have been really good. I think just honestly reaching out to people has been the best. Where it's like this is the sales piece where it's a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales. That's where I think the customer acquisition is cool for a startup because it's not just sales and it's not just marketing
Yeah.
because it's a little bit of both. So you have to put your name out there. So that's the marketing piece. And that's a lot of LinkedIn, Reddit's on there, Shopify forums are on there. But you also have to directly message people because they're at the end of the day, unless you're going viral every time, they're not going to hear about what you say, but they will see it though because when you message them, they're like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah.
And then they'll look at your profile, and then it's like, "Oh wait, actually, okay, so you need a little bit of both."
That's how we met.
That's how we met, exactly.
That was a
That's
LinkedIn.
exactly-
I had
yeah.
messaged you and said, "Hey,
That's exactly
I
how it
love your
works.
page. I like what
And-
you're doing and building, and we
And
want to
then,
be."
I'm telling you, that's how it works, and just the directly talking to people has been the best so far. But I mean, I think that's where the founder-led sales piece comes in. So if you're looking for like sales, I don't know. I can help with founder-led sales because people want to talk to me.
Yeah.
People want to talk to the CEO and the founder and CTO. They're like, wait, you made the tech and you're selling it? And I'm like, yeah, that's me. So I think if you're a founder, then yes, absolutely just message people. Like it's not that hard. You can message them on Instagram, LinkedIn, but mention that you're the founder though. That's a big thing because people are more interested in talking to a founder. And that's just a fact.
Definitely more receptive. And just to break it down for everybody at home, if you're thinking like, all right, well, how do you go do all these things? How do you wear all these hats? And like, how do you even understand that you're working hours? Like you were able to gauge, I was working 40, went to 50, went back down to 40, went to 60, went to 70.
Yeah.
It's because we're able to compartmentalize the things that we need to do. So you'll block off your days. Like for me personally, we're in the same phase. So for me personally, I'm breaking down you might be a little ahead of me actually. I'm breaking down my day where like my first morning block, for some reason, I don't know why, that's when I like to get on my LinkedIn with my
that's
coffee.
mine too. That's mine
my
too.
thing.
Mine's in the morning.
Coffee and LinkedIn. And I'll break off that
exactly
hour and a half
Yes.
morning block where I'll go on LinkedIn. I'll make sure I engage. I'll make sure I'll do some stuff. I'll make sure I'll DM some people, get some messages done.
Yep.
And that's that part of the day. Then it's like, okay, move on to the next block. What am I going to accomplish in this one?
Got here.
I don't know. Maybe I'm going to deal with a fire. Maybe I'm going to go and scale up one of my interns. Maybe I'm going to go and focus on editing for this.
Yep.
Like it all just depends. But it's a lot to do. And yes, we work a lot of hours. But if you're able to compartmentalize and build a schedule out for yourself, almost like a 9 to 5, but make it, I don't know, 24/7.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think
like it's
it's
more digestible.
Yeah, it is 24/7. You do sleep, but like it is. I use ClickUp a lot. I was using Notion, and hot take, Notion is for designers, not people who are doing a lot of work. So
okay.
Notion is like Notion's great. Don't get me wrong, but Notion is very easy to get caught up in the coolness of Notion because Notion's cool.
Yeah.
You
it
know,
is.
but like getting work done's cooler.
Yeah.
You know, it's like getting
Yeah.
work done is a lot cooler. So like I've switched over from Notion to at first it was Airtable. Airtable was really good, but it wasn't quite as good as ClickUp.
Okay.
ClickUp is the one project management that I've found it's very straightforward because Notion, I love Notion. I still love Notion. I'm not trying to like say I don't love Notion, but my problem was that I loved Notion. So I would have fun making the different templates and I'd have fun making my task management as good as possible. When really you just need the MVP with this. You just need it to get the job done.
Yeah.
So like a basic Google Calendar would have done. You know, you didn't even need Notion because
Yeah.
it gave basic Excel sheet, like you were
that's
saying,
what
like
we talk about
it
all
would
the
have
time.
done. Notion was so cool though. Don't get me wrong. You know, like I love Notion, but I had to realize that if you're actually trying to get work done, Notion is not the work.
Mhm.
That's just helping you manage the work.
Just a
So,
distraction, if anything.
Exactly.
If you consume yourself too much in that, you're not doing the real
you're
stuff.
not doing the real stuff. Exactly.
It's funny that you mentioned Google Calendar. I think most people would be overwhelmed if they saw.
Our Google Calendar.
So
well,
in
that's
learning
ridiculous.
nurses to nannies, right? I know that I was doing that before we started doing this. And so for me, understanding nurses to nannies, I was learning from my interns. That's why I brought them in. I go, I don't know what I'm doing across the board. Like, you're going to school for this type of stuff. I'm not.
Yeah.
So you come teach me something. Let me go scale myself up because I know I can and get there, and then come back and teach you stuff.
Yeah.
And
Love
so,
that.
like, with that said, like, I would come in and my interns would come in and they would teach me something. I would teach them something and we would kind of circle it back around. And for me, it was like, they taught me content calendar and content
Yes.
calendar and
Oof.
stabilizing and staying a
Working
month
from the
ahead of
drafts.
everything
I was
you're
like working
doing.
from the drafts, like
Yeah.
that's
All
a
that
big,
kind of
yeah,
stuff,
that's working
like
from the
staying a
drafts.
month ahead. Like it doesn't take
Yep.
crazy stuff. I literally, so when we did the uncommonality, I was like, let me handle this part. I did this already. So I was like, just trust me. And he was like, what do you mean? I go, all right, we're going to have a Google sheet and we're going to have a physical calendar. And they're going to be named all the same. We're going to be able to track everything. We're going to physically see it in the calendar if that's how you visually see better. Or if you're a sheet person, you'll be able to see it in the sheets.
Yep.
And
Well,
like everything we do for this podcast is all just within Google Drive and nothing else.
check out ClickUp.
I think we'll have to.
Yeah, I was
We'll
like,
have to.
it connects with Google Drive really well. So everything that I put on ClickUp goes to my Google Calendar.
Do you pay for ClickUp?
No.
Free.
No
Yeah, I mean,
kidding.
unless you have like more than 5 people in your team.
No, we're not.
We're
We're not.
chilling. Yeah,
there
I was like,
yet,
we're
huh?
good. Yeah, I was like, we're not there
we got
yet.
some.
Like,
Yeah, we got
yeah, I
some
was like,
time.
we got
a lot
a few
of time.
hires. We got a few hires before we need to do that. So I'm like, you guys should definitely check out ClickUp. It's simple. It's like easy to use, but also you can do everything you need to do.
Sure.
That's
I'm sure you
amazing.
guys have specific workflows where you're like, I want to, let's say you like want some motivation from a different clip. You can add ClickUp to your browser, right? So anytime you're on YouTube, you could be like, all right, ClickUp, clip this video and then send it back to my task manager and then notify Keon to where he can be like, hey, he can see it. Like there's a bunch of stuff you can do, but you
No
don't have to do it.
kidding.
That's why I love ClickUp because
That
it's
would actually
like
solve a lot.
it connects, but you don't have to do it. So like out the box, it does the job.
Yeah.
So it does the job very, very well out the box. There's no customization you have to do other than like, naming your different projects,
Sure.
but that's basic
Yeah, that's
stuff.
with anything.
It's
Yeah,
a
that's with
genuine
anything.
task project manager. It's basic,
yes.
it's simple, and it makes sure that you get the job done.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So
We need that, especially with me and Raleigh now and you
Yeah.
and Charlotte. It allows us to
It's
schedule
big on
that stuff out a lot
collaboration too.
better.
That's
Yeah.
one thing it's really big on is like collaborative projects.
Efforts,
Because with one person, I don't think you don't need a project manager for like you should have one for one person, but you don't need it. But as soon as you have 2 people where it's like, hey, what are you working on? What am I working on? What are we supposed to do together? You absolutely need a project manager.
that's great
because,
practical
yeah,
advice.
it's
I
for
think
sure.
we'll definitely probably implement that.
And
Good
they're free.
application.
Yeah.
No, they're free.
Yeah.
So
Even if you had to use Notion's better than no project manager.
okay.
You just have to realize don't waste time. But Notion, yeah, because I'm like, I love Notion. I'm like, I can go back to Notion here. I love Notion. And I still use it for like a wiki where it's like if there's just information that I just want to keep somewhere, I'll use Notion instead of like a notes app or something. But in terms of like, it's still better than nothing. I think Notion is still better than no project manager.
Well, as we close this out here,
Yeah.
I want to ask you something we ask all our guests. I'm sure you've seen on the previous episodes, our kind of keynote question, the On Brand with the Uncommonality podcast. So what's one uncommon practice, belief, or system that you think anyone watching this can implement that will add value to their path or the path they're about to start?
Let me think.
That's already a good answer. Let me think.
Yeah.
Okay, this is actually a little bit different. I think that I don't read self-help books.
Ooh, okay.
So like I don't read a lot of nonfiction in general. I love reading. I read every single day, but I read fiction. So like I'll read stories or like so I just finished Atlas Shrugged. And that's like I don't believe in all the philosophy of Ayn Rand, but like she'll tell you how to start a business and how to like really suck it up the bad parts of it. Because I mean, one big thing she's about is like the ideal man. And the ideal man, if you've read her philosophy, the ideal man has already started his business. He doesn't complain about the 80-hour weeks because he wants to do it. So if you just read that, you're like, man, I can do 70 hours because the ideal man would have done 80.
Yeah.
And like that story framework, I think helps more than nonfiction. Because nonfiction, like you'll read it and then you'll forget it 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. But
Interesting. Okay.
I'm sure there's some children's stories that you probably haven't heard them since you were 5. You still remember the values you got from them. You know, like all the different, what's the, 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 the houses. And
Oh,
the
Magic
Magic
Tree
Tree
House.
No. The one where like someone. That's a great. I mean, that is a great show. That is a great show. But no, the one where it's like someone made their house out of straw. Someone made their house out
Oh,
of brick.
the three blind
three-
pigs.
Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Yes.
No, the pig one. The
Big Bad Wolf.
Bad
Yes,
Wolf.
that one. It's
God,
like
we
you were.
suck.
No, we're terrible. But like, here's the thing. No, this is actually perfect. This is perfect. You do not remember the name. You do not remember anything. But if
The
I asked you
story,
to tell
yeah.
you the values,
Yeah.
you could say it right now.
Yeah.
Where it's like you don't build your house in straw. You build on a good foundation.
Yeah,
So it's like
and
that's
brick,
a
yeah.
good fictional story. Where if that was just if I just told you don't build your foundation on straw, build it on brick, you'd have forgotten that by the time I walked out of this door.
But that
But
story
when I
ties
tell you
it
the
in.
story,
Yeah.
you remember it forever.
That's
So-
a good. I like that a lot.
That is really
That's
different.
interesting. It is different.
Because
Talk
most
about
people-
uncommon. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Most people would go right into, oh, you got to start with the podcast and the audio books and the.
No.
I mean, I'm a proponent for that. I love my
I mean, I do
audio
too.
books and my
I like
nonfictions,
podcasts. I like podcasts, but I think fiction and stories hit more.
You
You
know
it's
why
like,
I
I'm
see
not
that
saying,
point? It's the entertainment value.
Yes.
You are genuinely entertained by the story, so you're more willing to retain the information
Yeah.
within it,
Yep.
rather than being bored by like. Okay, I'll say this: there's definitely certain self-help books, like business books, where I'll read for 30 minutes, maybe 15 of those 10 minutes of those, I just
Zoned out.
zoned out,
Zoned
and
out,
I
yeah.
captured one thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Rather than reading a book that I'm completely engaged in, where I'm probably capturing a very good story
very-
and message
yeah.
that needs to be perceived.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's just the fact that I feel like when I'm reading a lot of self-help books, like you said, they get kind of boring.
Sometimes, yeah.
But like some of your favorite stories, you're like, I have to put this down because I'm reading it for too long,
Or
or
I'll keep
because
going,
I'm watching it for too long. And find books like that. That's the other thing. It's like, I don't read things I don't want to read because I don't have a finite amount of time on this earth, and I don't have a finite amount of time that I can do this activity. It might only be 30 minutes. So why would I spend that time doing something that I don't want to do?
Yeah.
You know, especially like if I want to learn and I want to do these things, I can spend that time actually learning something that I want to learn. And obviously, like, find a fictional book that is in the right context, where like if you want to learn about working hard and like what it takes to really grind and get back to it, read The Count of Monte Cristo. Like the story of Dantes and how he like had terrible life, like literally all the cards stacked against him, but then comes back and like reaches all his reaches all his goals and like gets the girl and like does all these things. Then it's like really long book, don't get me wrong, but like that book is gonna stick with you though, because like if you even read a quarter of it, then you're like, oh, that's like, all right, like if Dantes could do that, I can do this. You know, it's
That's
like if he can
great.
do that,
I
I
like
can
that.
do this.
There's a lot of value in this. Think about the stuff that you would read when you were in school growing up. The Odyssey.
Yeah, the Odyssey, another great
Oedipus,
example.
yeah.
I love
Everybody
the Odyssey.
would read the Odyssey.
and you
Yeah.
know all about the.
That's an epic story. That's
Epic,
not that's
yes.
that's a fiction epic story. That's exactly what it is. It's not nonfiction. So it's like, and if that
Some people say it's real. But.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
I mean, I was like, no,
Well,
we're just talking. No, I'm playing. We're talking.
it's an epic.
It's
an
an
epic.
epic. It's
It's an
fiction.
epic.
It's fiction.
Um,
It's fiction.
and within that scope of it, it's like, wow, yeah. Why are they teaching us that rather than teaching us a self? Did you ever read a self-help book throughout school? No, you were reading all these books that were written by people. Huckleberry Finn,
Yeah.
Catcher in the Rye,
Yeah.
Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby,
Gatsby, yeah.
et cetera, et
That's what I'm
cetera.
saying.
These are all fiction books that you're drawing genuine stuff from, because I think, wow, yeah, I think they understood that kids are not going to retain information that's boring. They're going to want something entertaining and
Yeah.
learn more from
And
it.
also, you did read fiction. You read your fiction in your physics class. So your textbooks from physics, you did. Tell me anything they ever said. You know, this is a great example. You did read nonfiction. The physics classes and your science and math classes. You can't tell me a word
Yeah.
that
Not
were in
much.
those books. You can't tell me anything that were in those books.
Yeah, the
But
values
ones you
of
read in
growing as a
English,
person.
You remember those. You remember the values you got and the stories that they told. So
Yeah.
read
That's
fiction.
amazing, man. That's
That's
really
great.
good, actually. That's a really good uncommonality question.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, man. Honestly, this conversation has been very invigorating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been great.
We've been bouncing off each other fantastically, and the energy has been awesome. So, just thank you from me and from Sal as well. I just want to say the thing that I love about you is the fact that you just want to take everything at the scruff of the neck and do it yourself.
Yep.
I think you're the type of person that thinks that not in like the bad way. Like, this is your world and you're going to do what you want with
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yep.
you're going to go take it. You got, like you said, I have one life. This is finite. I'm going to make the most of it. And I absolutely love that, man.
Yeah, thank you.
So
Appreciate
thank you
that.
so much.
course.
If you would go ahead and plug your socials, go ahead and plug the business,
Yeah.
plug everything you can.
So Consuelo, www.consuelo, consuelo.hq.com. My socials on LinkedIn is just Kokayi, Kokayi. I have an interesting name, so I got some usernames which
Yeah.
are cool. I will say my Instagram one is Kokayi Cobb though, last name Cobb. And yeah, that's it. Consuelo on LinkedIn is just going to be Consuelo, but we have all of that plugged in from the website. So if you just go to consuelohq.com, you will find it.
Amazing. So I'm Keon. Clearly you can follow me now on Instagram at KeonAlberto_. My LinkedIn is just Keon Alberto. We can plug nursestoNannies.com here as well. And our socials are at Nurses to Nannies. Obviously, we have the Uncommonality podcast as well at Uncommonality Podcast. We have TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, et cetera, and we're across all streaming platforms for the podcast.
And lastly, you can find me at Instagram _Sal A. Perez and my business website, totemwealthmanagement.com, exactly as it reads. And we'll plug that all in.
Yeah, so thank you for watching, guys. Please go ahead and check out Co's stuff. Check them out.
Thank you,
Continue to like, share, and follow us. And hopefully you continue to join us on this journey as we continue to hopefully provide value to everybody back at home. So thank you so much, my friends. Thank you.
Of course.
And
you, guys.
we'll see you guys next time.
All right. See ya.